Hey, David at PresenceVideography. My next kayaking adventure takes me to Saddlebag Island, which is part of the San Juan Islands, so world-class sea kayaking. And Saddlebag sits within a cluster of 5 little islands. It's just off Anacortes, so you can paddle there within a day trip and no ferry ride required. Lots of bird life, lots of sea life. Saddlebag Island itself has 2 bays, 2 beaches, several campsites, trails all round, beautiful scenes all round. With that, let's jump in. The round-trip distance is 9 miles, or 14.5 kilometers, and took me 5 hours, including a lunch stop at Saddlebag Island. It's a beautiful Saturday morning in mid-October, and I'm at Seafarers Memorial Park at 8:30 a.m. This park is on the east side of Anacortes, has lots of free parking, and is an excellent launch point for a kayaking day trip. There is no overnight parking here though, so if you're planning an overnight kayak camping trip, you may want to look at Cap Sante Marina, which has overnight and longer term parking. Seafarers Memorial Park is nice and sheltered, so easy to launch and pull out there. You could see there's lots of overnight parking at the back of Cap Sante Marina, and if you park there, a launch point right here. Behind Cap Sante, you can see Guemes Island, and then to the right, Saddlebag Island, Dot Island, and Hat Island. The 5th island that we'll visit on this trip is Huckleberry Island, which is hidden just behind the southeast point of Guemes Island. Part 1 takes me from Seafarers Memorial Park, around the steep rocky cliffs of Cap Sante, out to the northeast point of Anacortes and across Guemes Channel to Guemes Island, where I stopped for a rest on the beach. A little bit of boat traffic to watch out for as you cross over to Cap Sante. The Cap Sante Marina to our left is one of the larger and busier marinas in Anacortes. Once I get across to Cap Sante, I'll be hugging the shoreline, so no problem with boats there. One of the things I love about kayaking is you can get really close to the shore, where all the interesting stuff to see is. Okay, so that was a great place to launch, and a nice beach to set up on, and parking during the day is free. There's no overnight parking at that park, but the conditions today, very, very light breeze, maybe 1 or 2 knots, fairly cool, about 70 degrees, 65, 70. A little bit hazy from wildfires, but otherwise a beautiful day, and it's great to be out. Going around Cap Sante, the steep rock cliffs are really striking. Startled a great blue heron here as I paddled around Cap Sante. That's Guemes Island in the distance. Beautiful shot of the sun rising to the southeast. This is the forest on the east side of Cap Sante. Lots of nice perches for eagles. And sure enough, there's an eagle that was just fishing off the rocks. If you look carefully, you can actually see a fish in its claws. Even though the weather is quite warm today, I'm wearing a wetsuit for safety because the water is still only about 55 Fahrenheit or 13 degrees Celsius. Either a wetsuit or a dry suit is recommended if you do this trip. Coming into Guemes Channel here, there are a few more boats and large commercial ship traffic too, so I'll be keeping a close lookout before I cross. I made my way up to this northeast point of Anacortes before crossing to reduce the channel crossing distance. As I came around the corner, there was a herd of seals sunning themselves on the dock. They're pretty shy, and once they saw me, they all went for a swim. They're also curious, and often pop up around my kayak to have a closer look. Beautiful homes along the waterfront, looking north across the Guemes Channel towards Guemes Island. It's amazing the amount of bird life and sea life already seen in such a short distance so far. In planning this trip, I used deepzoom.com to select the day and time and current in the Guemes Channel, and then scrolled on the timeline to see what the current was doing at the time of crossing. Based on this, I planned to cross right around 10 a.m. when the current is in my favor, about 1 knot and decreasing. You can also see on this tool what the currents are doing around the Saddlebag Island area. To see tides, you can select the tide station nearby, scroll on the timeline when you plan to kayak, and see what the tide levels are. For this trip, the tides are near high for the whole duration of the 5-hour trip. We're not affiliated with deepzoom.com, and this is not sponsored. It's just a useful tool I use. There are other similar tools. The important thing is to pay careful attention to currents, winds, and tides, especially through the Guemes Channel, where currents can get up to 3 or so knots, which would be very challenging for most kayakers. We typically like to paddle in currents that are 1 knot or less, and we like currents to be in our favor so they help us get to our destination faster. I did a similar planning exercise for the return trip later today to time my crossing back through the channel. A little bit of waves in the channel, but nothing major. The major kind of waves to watch out for here is wake from large ships going through the channel. I timed my crossing to avoid these. And here I'm coming up on the beach, where I'll take a rest stop and swap out batteries in my GoPro cameras. Next, we're going to paddle from the beach around the southeast point of Guemes Island, over to Huckleberry Island, and around the north and east sides of Saddlebag Island, right near Dot Island, and pull in at the south bay of Saddlebag Island. Another great blue heron on the log ahead. Must be some good fishing around here. Looks from the orientation of the kelp like I have a bit of a current against me. Sometimes smaller eddy currents up close to the shore can be in the opposite direction from the main channel. Looks from the rocks like this is a popular bird nesting site. And that's Hat Island straight ahead. And Dot Island just to the left. And Saddlebag Island just coming into view now. And finally Huckleberry Island just coming into view with a seal playing right in front of it. The channel crossing from Guemes Island to Huckleberry Island is just 1/3 of a mile, or half a kilometer. Huckleberry Island had these really steep sides all around. It's near high tide here, but you can see there's a nice beach on the southwest side when the tide is lower. Before heading over to Saddlebag Island, I decided to scout around the east and north sides of Huckleberry Island. Didn't seem to be any paths up onto the island. Looks like a beautiful island once you get on top, but didn't see any path up. So time to head over to Saddlebag Island. Just a short hop channel crossing of half a mile, or 3/4 of a kilometer. Arriving at Saddlebag Island, I decided to explore the north side first. Here's a nice sheltered bay and beach on the north side. Pulling into the bay for a closer look. You can see right through the trees to the other side here. The saddle part of the island is quite narrow. One of the campsites is just behind the beach there, with a picnic table. There's a beautiful sandy beach under me, but being right near high tide, you can't see much of it. This late in the summer, there's going to be more sun on the south side, so I'm heading around the west side of Saddlebag Island to the South Bay. Dot Island is the tiniest of the 5 islands, and there's a tiny rock to its south. Perhaps that should be Speck Island. Actually, it's joined to Dot Island by a tombola, or a sandbar, so technically it's not a separate island. It's just that it's high tide right now. Lots of birds on the south part of Dot Island, probably cormorants. Bit tricky to find a good place to pull out when the tide is so high. It was really peaceful on Saddlebag Island. I was the only one there, even on this beautiful sunny day. Lots of Pacific madrone trees, also known as arbutus trees, very characteristic of the San Juan Islands. I took the opportunity to explore the island. Trails were in great condition. Beautiful view from the trail going along the south side. There are 4 primitive campsites and 1 Cascadia Marine Trail campsite. This is campsite 4. It has a picnic table. It's nicely cleared. There's a couple of level pads for tents and a fire ring. And a beautiful view out the south side. Going down the east side of the saddle, you can see just how close Saddlebag Island is to Dot Island. And a beautiful view of South Bay, Anacortes in the distance. It's $12 a night to camp here. First come, first serve, so not reservable. Pack in, pack out, so no garbage service. There is a vault toilet though, and it was actually in great condition. And it's high tide right now. This one's really close to the water. I think this might be the Cascadia one. But there's a nice, very level grassy section to put a couple of tents on. There's actually a fire ring and a couple of picnic benches. There are beautiful scenic trails going all the way around the island with views from all sides. Looking out the west side, you can see Huckleberry Island and Guemes Island behind. As I head back to Anacortes, I'll skirt along the south shore of Huckleberry Island, then Guemes Island, before I paddle across the Guemes Channel to Anacortes. Just as I was heading out, a group arrived at the island. I had had the whole island completely to myself up until then. As I was crossing from Saddlebag to Huckleberry Islands, I came across a couple of harbor porpoises fishing in the channel. There were lots of big bull kelp beds in the channel. After the short hop from Huckleberry Island to Guemes Island, I made my way down the east side of Guemes Island, and I'm just rounding the southeast corner of Guemes Island here. From here I made a straight shot towards Cap Sante and my pull-out point at Seafarers Memorial Park. I checked carefully in both directions before crossing, and there was no boat traffic coming through the channel. But about halfway across, this tanker started to rotate from being perpendicular to the channel to looking like it was preparing to move through the channel, so I hung out a bit just to check its heading before proceeding. Sure enough, as it got aligned with the channel, it set off westbound in the channel. Good thing I waited. Aside from planning for currents, winds, tides, etc., and watching for boat traffic, I find that being patient to wait for the right conditions to cross is a good thing. A few swells in the wake of such large ships moving through. Nothing to worry about, but good to be prepared for it. This crossing was about 1.6 miles, or 2.5 kilometers, and took about 30 minutes, excluding wait times. Just coming up on the cliffs of Cap Sante here. As I came around the southern point of Cap Sante, the marina and Anacortes came into view. And my pull-out point at Seafarers Memorial Park. Little remote-controlled sailboat regatta going on in the bay. And a curious seal popped up in front of me to have a look. They're curious but also shy, and often pop up behind you because they think you can't see them there. Guess he didn't anticipate the GoPro on the back of the kayak. What a great trip. And there are my kayak cart tracks from where I launched this morning. Thanks for watching. We're releasing new videos regularly of our kayaking adventures in the Pacific Northwest. Be sure to subscribe and we'll notify you when new ones are out. If you like this video, you'll love the ones I did off the west side of Anacortes, from Tugboat Beach around Burrows and Young Islands. And we've also done several around Deception Pass State Park, around Bowman Bay to Deception Island, and east of Deception Pass from Cornet Bay Marina to Skagit Island, and from Allah Spit to Hope Island. I also did an amazing solo kayak camping trip from Cornet Bay around Skagit Island with an overnight on Hope Island. I'll put links in the description. Happy kayaking. Bye for now.